Hey, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, and tonight is special because tonight is a band reunion. And that's not band B-A-N-D, but it's band B-A-N-N-E-D. So do me a favor, smash that like, do chat in with where you're from, because I am very excited to bring in some special guests, some longtime friends. Both the gentlemen here already. George is coming on as well. I just talked with him, but these people have all been booted from YouTube World in the past. So we're going to start out by bringing in Brian Lupo, also known as CanCon. Brian, good to have you on the show.
Good to be here, man, as always.
Yes. And we got the Nick Mo Cedar right there. Nick, thanks for joining. Man, this is like, it's been a while. It's been too long, guys. It's been too long since we've done this, quite frankly. I'm thinking we have got to have a band reunion. We got George, he's kind of, working out at the gym. I knew he was going to be running a little behind when I talked to him 32 minutes ago. This is not unusual.
George is living up to stereotypes, man. He's out celebrating Louisiana versus Calais.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Anyhow, well, let's get into it here. I think I first want to start out, guys, and I don't know what, Brian, I know you're very well connected, and I don't know what you've been hearing, but there's a big grand jury, of course, going down in Florida, the grand conspiracy. I have talked to two people today, one who is counsel in touch with that grand jury and is providing evidence to them. And it sounds like, from all I hear, Brian, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, we are going to see more arrests, more handcuffs, more indictments, and it's going to come pretty fast and furious when it does. What are you hearing?
Same thing. With Joe DeGenova now taking over the reins down here in South Florida in my district. I don't have any insider sources or anything like that. So just, kind of what we're getting from the litmus of everything going on right now. I would agree with the same thing. We got the Comey indictment. I'm not impressed with that one, to be honest with you.
Correct.
I don't want to zoom out too hard over it, but I'm not very optimistic about that one. But this could very well, there he is, lead to Brennan Rico, the Brennan grand conspiracy that we're going to see. What's up, man?
Yes.
You just got back from a jog.
George.
Just got back from the gym, getting back in. Neil's been making me feel lazy. Seems like you guys had a serious conversation going.
No,
we're
just
serious people.
Oh, okay. There it is. There's the seriousness.
People. All right, folks, do smash that like. Do chat in, and let's see who's on the stream tonight, and smash that like, chat in. But George, you were working out at the gym,
Neil, how long is this going to be? Because my legs are burning right now.
You're already leg day.
Yeah, man.
I did leg day this morning, and I just got back in the gym 2 weeks ago, and
it sucks, right?
I'll be like dead for days. I can't, I want to fall asleep in my chair right now.
Yeah, and I'm standing up, so.
I ran a 5K this last weekend.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Look, Neil, I told you, Neil makes me feel like I'm not working hard enough.
Oh gosh. Do you know what I did tonight, gentlemen? Because I was preparing for this, and then when all this big news was dropping today, I was so wrapped up in it, I actually missed my group cycle class. I teach the spin class. I've never missed one.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So Kaylin, who owns the gym, calls me at 4:06. Now, fortunately, there were only a few people showing up tonight, but he calls me at 4:06, and I'm like, "Oh, geez, Kaylin, I'm so sorry. I mean, the news. I was just so wrapped up in it, and then I was, it's a real thing." But anyhow,
wait. You missed your own horrible teacher.
Yes,
what is going on?
Bad, George.
You're an absentee voter, I guess, right? Absentee teacher.
Yes.
Well, today was absolutely amazing. I think the Supreme Court did something truly transformational. Unfortunately, Republicans in Congress are cowards, and they haven't done anything for election integrity. So we're relying on the Supreme Court to overturn decade-old precedent and laws to get anything good. But no, this is genuinely transformational. And I know Nick, you were just you're probably in love right now, right? You forgive the Supreme Court for their previous transgressions.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's the past is the past. Let bygones be bygones. Yeah, we're good now. This is amazing. And I see all these liberals and Democrats and Mark Elias is crying, which is obviously a good sign. And there's a lot of cope happening as well. They're trying to somehow spin this and portray it as sort of like a zero-sum game where, yeah, red states, they're going to redistrict and add additional seats for the GOP, but the blue states can do the same thing. But there's something everybody seems to be missing here, which is that the Democrats have already done that. Yeah. And this Supreme Court decision, it basically, see, what's been happening over the past several decades is because of these civil rights lawsuits that have been filed whenever the Republican, the red states draw their maps, they're forced to add Democrat blue seats on the basis of race. They've been forced to add seats. Like that's what happened in Louisiana. And so this Supreme Court decision, it basically means that Republicans can play the game that the Democrats have been playing all along. And they've already squeezed all the juice that they possibly could out of their states.
Yeah.
They've already, like, California, Illinois, you look at New England, they've already done it. There's not a lot of leverage that they have. And so there's a lot of, left-wing commentators that are spinning all this copium about how the Democrats are going to do the same thing right back and add 19 seats. It's not happening. It's not happening.
No.
Also, Neil, you and I had this conversation a few months ago, and it was about the census and how, of course, the 2020 census was a complete sham.
Yes.
I don't imagine that's going to get corrected anytime soon. But let's say in 2030, there's a new census that's done. Democrats are going to get hurt there too, right? They're going to lose a bunch of seats in their trusted strongholds. California is going to lose probably 2 or 3. So will Illinois, New York. Washington State will lose a bunch of seats. So if you add all this up, and let's say you get a right-wing president in 2028, it could actually lock Democrats out of power for a substantial period of time. So, this is a huge decision because it just adds to what could already be something massive, like Brian's hairline. He would know a lot. He would know a lot about that.
Dick.
I got rid of the beard, man. I got rid of the beard.
Bald. The hairline doesn't get any bigger than that.
My hairline's as red as Florida will be after DeSantis redraws. Hey guys,
by the way, best governor in the country. I know Ron DeSantis. We're sour on him because he wore high heels, and that was a little weird. But I am absolutely. I'm back on board. Ron, look, the guy's effective. He literally proposed that map like 4 days ago, and it's now going to be law 4 days later. I think that's a gangster move, right? And I believe they already redistricted. So this is a redistricting of a redistricting of a redistricting. So this is, DeSantis is the best, man.
Well, Virginia paved the way for this. So thank you to Virginia, which that's going to get overturned, I believe. So
I don't want it to be.
Oh, no, it's going to get overturned.
Yeah, I don't want it to be overturned, though, because the reason I don't want it to be overturned is if Democrats do that, Republicans, even the rhino ones, have no choice if they want to maintain their power than to go all out. Massachusetts and Indiana have similar populations, over 7 million people each. Kamala Harris won there by 60% of the vote. Trump won in Indiana by even more. And there's 0 Republican seats in Massachusetts, but 2 Democrat seats in Indiana. So I think this pushes moves like Virginia. It's good because it pushes even the worst Republicans to be like, you know what? You guys aren't playing fair, so we won't either.
I have a different thought on that. I'll be glad to see it get overturned because they went about it wrong. So they should definitely be overturned.
It was unconstitutional because, procedurally
they broke the laws to do it.
Yeah. But I'm saying that it happening is actually going to be a net positive in the long term, because it did get Florida to this point. I never thought Florida would be eliminated. Well, they already did it, but to do it again is impressive. And then I think actually the Supreme Court must have seen, they just literally wiped out every Republican seat, almost every Republican seat in Virginia. Why don't we counteract that? It must have been like some consideration.
Florida has been on this warpath to redistrict since the census information came out, and we found out that we got royally screwed in the census. We got screwed out of at least one additional seat, maybe more. And California and New York got, probably two. Yeah. And Texas got screwed out of two. California got too many, not enough removed. And so did New York. And there's a couple other states, here and there that the census was screwed up. And that didn't even include, by the way, that doesn't even include the illegals that were counted in the census. And so that's why Florida was going on this redistricting path now, warpath. Now you see Florida and I think Mississippi were both kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with this Louisiana case. I think Virginia tipped the scale for Florida to do it right away. The legislature, they'll get it passed and to DeSantis' desk, get it signed. 4 Democrat seats. Unfortunately, I'm one of them. My congresswoman is Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick, who just resigned a couple weeks ago.
Yes. Speaking of which, let us. There's something very important I want to mention that on good old Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick. We have now seen in short order Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick out. We've seen Swalwell out. We've seen Gonzalez out. He's going to be replaced by Brandon Herrera. It's going to be a great gain for Texas.
What a complete disaster. The worst news ever for Eric Swalwell to drop out. Like, that was a generational opportunity for Republicans to flip California red. I don't know who they're consolidating around now, but I think it's going to be that fat lady.
Katie Porter.
Katie Porter.
Yeah.
The mashed potato lady.
Yeah.
Dump scalding potatoes on her husband's head. She's a charmer.
Yeah, we've got a lot. So the McCormick thing is something that was really interesting because when the news broke that she had resigned, and again, this might be an unpopular opinion with the audience, but I was a little bit upset about how that whole thing unfolded. So for those that don't know, Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick was brought up on charges. She was indicted on a whole bunch of fraud around COVID, around PPP money, around missed payments, and all that stuff. Well, she has a federal indictment. She's going to go to federal court and face a judge, right, and face a jury. And the the House Ethics Committee, before she had her day in court, decided to have their own little mock trial. And came out and said she's guilty. And, as somebody that is a strict constitutionalist for the most part, what they did was to me, it was an injustice to McCormick. Now, I think she's guilty. I think
because they influence the jury's opinion.
Yeah, they influenced it. And I think, again, I think that she will be found guilty in a court of law and she will go to prison for this. We're talking about over $5 million in total. But I think the way that the House went about doing that, they should have let it play out first in the court. And then if she doesn't resign and doesn't get expelled, then you can have the ethics investigation and all that stuff. You can have your fake little trial. The Congress is not a finder of fact. It's not a judiciary. It doesn't conduct hearings against, and call witnesses unless it's an impeachment, which you don't impeach members of Congress, you expel them. So this would be against somebody in the executive. Look, I know it's kind of tit for tat, and it would have most likely went this way. But now that you've given McCormick ammunition to take into court and say, hey, I've got a tainted jury pool because the ethics committee already said I'm guilty, and that was not in any way, shape, or form due process under the law.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it not related to ethics for her behavior? Is her behavior not related to her ethics as a member of Congress?
It is. It is.
100%.
So it's fair to say the ethics committee was doing its job. Now, of course, the timeline coincides with a federal prosecution, but I don't think any judge overseeing that case is going to be like, "Dang, the House Ethics Committee got you, so that means this whole thing is political." I think I think her case specifically is a little bit different because the charges against her are very serious.
But she can still use that as a legal argument. I think is what Brian is saying.
Right,
She can,
right.
her defense.
I would
attorney
rather
can
have had
argue-
the House Ethics Committee do the ethics investigation, though, because that's their job.
Well, if there's no,
I think we're
federal
just way
investigation,
overthinking of this, and I don't want to talk forever about Sheila because she's just a schmuck.
journalist.
But the reality is, I mean, she stole money and she's going to go to prison. She's out of Congress. I just like the fact that we're seeing these people get ousted from Congress who are just dirty, and more need to go. Obviously,
Ilhan Omar.
So Ilhan Omar,
Ilhan
thank
Omar.
you. That's such a great
Ilhan
segue.
Omar.
How
Hey,
is
I'm
she
noticing
still
a
there?
trend here. Look, I don't want to be that guy, but two black women, two strong, independent black women. Where's our white sisters? Why aren't they getting considered for removal? I guess they're not. But anyway.
I was going to go there
You need to
for
make
you,
the civil
George.
rights
but you
argument.
beat me to it.
You need to invoke the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, man, that has to be invoked, man. Section 2 or something. Like, oh no, never mind. The Supreme Court just overturned that.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
So I want to quickly go back to circle back to the Comey indictment. Also on the same day, Fauci's senior advisor was indicted as well. So we had two big indictments on the same day. Now, as weak as I think, Brian, and I tend to agree with you on this, the Comey indictment, I don't know if it goes anywhere. There's certainly a case to be made for it. I just don't think there's enough there. I worked in the restaurant industry, and so
I just gotta interject here.
Yeah, go for it.
They say the grass isn't always greener on the other side, but the other side of Pam Bondi, the grass is greener because like it's greener than Neil's bank account after my pillow checks hit. Like this is
Hey, that's
amazing.
a great segue, George. MyPillow.com/lumberjack for big savings on the best sleep products available. That's right. 1-800-568-2865. Big savings right now. Free shipping on orders over $100. Thank you, George. I would have
the
forgotten
DOJ they're just doing their job. I'm impressed. James Comey. Come on, I'm genuinely impressed.
Well, if you're impressed, George, then I'm impressed too. Do you know what I want to bring up? Do you have that Maze Moore clip, Rebecca? The one that I bookmarked for you?
Guys, if you don't know, Rebecca is his producer daughter, and Neil's using child labor. Let's just put it that way. But
okay.
I'm not saying this because I'm jealous.
Rebecca's 21. Okay. It's not child labor.
I'm not saying this because I'm jealous of the great setup he has going. I saw a setup backstage. It's awesome. I'm saying this because I thoroughly stand against the usage of children to produce shows with a bunch of, doofuses on the internet.
Rebecca, how do you like your work?
I enjoy my work a lot. It's
yeah,
fun.
His son is also his security guard, and he has a pew pew in his hand, and that's under duress. I'm just saying, these are things that Neil likes to hunt. He's very accurate.
I don't think Neil's too worried. I think Neil lives off grid, doesn't he?
I do live off grid.
Well, perfect scenario for exactly what I'm talking about.
But hey, I wanted to this is kind of a long post, but Viva Frey kind of shifted my mindset on the Comey indictment with the post that he had made. And Viva Frey is an attorney.
From Canada, though.
He's from Canada. So what the heck does he know?
In Florida.
But no, I think because immediately my knee-jerk reaction to the Comey indictment was that it was weak and, for lack of a better term, a little gay. But I did see a little bit more context makes it seem a little stronger than I was initially thinking, because it wasn't just the 8647 in seashells that he posted on Instagram. There was a subsequent post where he was reading a book, and the summary of his book is basically about killing your enemies. And so 86 can be construed as like you were saying, you worked in the restaurant industry. So did my wife for over a decade, my brother-in-law. And that term gets thrown around. Like if you're out of something at the restaurant, you 86 that from the menu means to get rid of it or to remove it. Or if somebody's been drinking too much, you 86 them, you cut them off. You know, they use the term ambiguously. It can mean a lot of things, but when we're talking about this indictment, you have to prescribe his intent. You have to prove that his intent was to invoke violence or cause harm to the president. And when you couple the 8647 post with the subsequent post of him, you know, the book that he was reading, it implies his intent in the first post.
Yeah. And the fact that he was the former director of the FBI, the highest law enforcement agency in the country, he should know what that means. You know, you don't just take a random picture of a formation and go, that's really cool.
Yeah, because it was really random. I'm sure he didn't put those there. That's just
right. But if that was all that we had, I think it's still going to fall apart on First Amendment. But when you can, like, people are also saying we don't know what's going to come out in discovery. You know, he took the post down, which means people obviously communicated with him and said, hey, that's a little dicey. You should probably take that off the internet because that could be construed as a death threat. Well, he had communications with those people, and he might have said, I don't give a damn. I hope somebody does kill the president. You know, he might have said something crazy like that in the text messages. But I see Brian shaking his head no. So
hold on. Well, go ahead. Finish your point.
My point was just that we have to prove that was his intent, right? In order to get a conviction. And in discovery, his communications about the Instagram post could prove his intent was to cause harm to the president.
Okay, that's where my problem herein lies. And again, we still got to see the probable cause affidavit because all we have is the indictment itself. And so we only know what was in the indictment. The indictment only lays reference to the 8647 seashell post. And again, that post, the indictment as it sits prima facie on its face right now is weak as all hell. It is incredibly weak. That is, absolutely protected speech. It's political speech. He doesn't make a threat. He doesn't imply that he put the seashell formation out there. It's really weak. Now, that's not to say that there's not more that Blanche alluded to. There's being more information. Yes. Has been very secretive in terms of what evidence has been presented, what was in the probable cause affidavit, what was brought to the grand jury. We don't know any of this stuff yet, so we don't know any details. But on its face, what is in the indictment is incredibly weak. Now, if they do know something that happened outside of the post, but like communications, meaning something, it was a signal to somebody. Now you're looking at a racketeering case. You're looking at a conspiracy case. And in a conspiracy case, that should have been charged. And that wasn't one of the two charges with which he was brought. So as it sits right now, I am very reluctant to be optimistic about this indictment. And again, I still think this is just like the first one. The first one was obstruction and lying to Congress, right? Those were woefully inadequate charges. Like, that's not what James Comey has done. James Comey, there's a hell of a lot more that James Comey has been involved in throughout his career at the FBI that needs to be brought for accountability. These two things, while they may get him in a courtroom eventually, I personally don't think they will, but while they might lead to that, it's woefully inadequate compared to what Comey actually did.
I think it'll survive motion to dismiss on the basis that, the grand jury issued the indictment, and they typically defer to the grand. I understand that, but I'm sorry, Neil. I know you have something you want to say, but
you go, Nick. Finish your point.
I kind of want to get Brian's take on this because Brian, I consider you a legal scholar. My thing with this, what concerns me about this is if we're indicting James Comey on a weak indictment over 8647 seashells, and it's weak and it's doomed to fail. Let's just say that is the case. Why are we doing that? Is it to appease the base that wants to see Comey indicted and is going to be happy with any charges being thrown at him? And my real question pertains to the grand jury down in Florida. Because my understanding is that there's certain things that have lapsed the statute of limitations, but when you're going for a grand conspiracy case, the statute of limitations is different, because you're talking about a grand conspiracy that spans over a decade. Well, it starts at the first instance of the conspiracy and it can span all the way through to the last act of the conspiracy. So that would leave Comey still up for charges related to the Russiagate, Russia hoax. But if we're seeing silly charges regarding something that's doomed to fail, it makes me a little bit concerned that isn't something that's coming in the future in the grand jury case.
It's not coming.
That's a very fair, Nick. And that's the one thing that I'm kind of looking at this kind of side-eyed, is because this is a really weak one to bring, and it's against a high value individual, right? This is a high value target in the proverbial deep state list. And so that's what's giving me side eye, is that there has to be more to this. Again, when I say that I think this is weak, I'm just referring to the indictment that we have, the indictment that came out yesterday. Nothing beyond that. And we don't know anything beyond that. We don't know what they have from his text messages. They don't know interactions that he had with other people. They don't know that, he said, oh, I hope I hope somebody looks at this and gets weaponized to go and take out, the leader. I don't want to say more because I don't want to get indicted. So I'm with you. I'm with you on this. My only point is that the indictment itself is crap. The indictment itself, if I go out and I post a seashell formation and say, this is kind of cool, 8647. I mean, there's cars driving around with 8647 bumper stickers. Are you going to arrest one of them?
Okay.
Yeah, but they're not the FBI director. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's just
right.
Make that distinction. I mean, that I don't care. Okay, if you're going to say, okay, he can't be indicted, or he's not going to end up getting charged, that's fine. That's one thing. But to even compare it in any way, shape, or form to some crazy liberal in Minneapolis running around with an 8647 bumper sticker, it's not even in the same realm of reason. I mean, that's not even. I mean, minimally, James Comey should be discredited, never have another job again in his life. He is an absolutely pathetic hack, a piece of crap. And I've been saving something I want to share with you. It's from Maze Moore on X, because we have now had 4 assassination attempts on President Trump in 2 freaking years.
Yes.
Or are you going to say, George? I'm going to share this video. But
Neil just hit the coffin on the nail. James Comey don't laugh. It's just a little look. James Comey was the former FBI director. He has shown a long history of going after Trump, hating Trump, being a never Trumper, like in his capacity as the FBI director, in his capacity as a private citizen. He has done everything against Trump. That's not like a normal post. Nobody looks at a formation that is so specific and so clear what it means and then post it on their Instagram. The indictment itself might seem weak because it's so simple. It's like, it's just a picture with those exact same numbers. But I think the bigger picture is the fact that he definitely knew what he was posting.
That's one perspective. Right,
hold on. We're going to play this video quick. We're going to play it. Play it, Rebecca.
Dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany, especially in the earliest days of Nazi Germany, are the dangers that we need to react to now.
That man cannot see public office again. He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Donald Trump's modern day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. Anyone could get that knock at a door. And there's no guarantee you'd get your day in court or that you'd ever make it home alive.
Why does he keep saying he's a dictator? People that keep saying things like that actually might be a dictator. I mean, it makes some of these dictators overseas blush. These are dictatorial constructs, authoritarian tendencies. And if you are black or brown in this country, I feel like you probably feel like authoritarianism is already here. Wake up, everybody. Wake up. You will lose your country. We have got to fight fire with fire.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
The threat right now in this country to the American people are extreme MAGA Republicans. That's the threat. That's the problem.
There's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans quote a clear and present danger to our democracy. We've told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not. We have to defend it, protect it, stand up for it. Each and every one of us must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. We're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else.
You know,
so
to some extent,
you had the Nazi, you had the dictator, you had we're in a war. We need to be willing to do whatever it takes, and he needs to be eliminated. And then we see 4 attempts. Okay, and we've got Mr. 8647. I mean, this is not normal. These lefties are not normal. I'm sorry, it's not normal political discourse.
Well, Neil, I would argue that those words can easily, they do easily qualify as First Amendment protected speech. It's political rhetoric, right? I would argue those words. But the 8647 thing is different because it calls for an action. Yeah, it's very precise, and it calls for an action. Like, I will never believe, I don't care what the verdict is, the case gets dismissed, a jury says no. I will never believe James Comey didn't know what he was posting. Like, I can't ever believe that. I think he thought he could be cheeky, just get that out. And then, you know, people would look at it and people who really knew would be like, haha, he posted that. Can't believe that. I don't think a grown man like him takes pictures of a seashell formation and then just post it on Instagram. This is cool. Nah, he's such a dork. He doesn't go outside. I don't believe he even went outside, but whatever. That's a topic for a different day. But the differences between that rhetoric and that post from Comey could not be clearer in my eyes.
The problem, though, is the way our due process is laid out. It's beyond a reasonable doubt, and you can't. It's going to be very difficult to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, again,
really though, he's the former FBI director. Because all they have to prove is that he knew what he was posting.
And that's not all they have to prove. That's not all they have to prove.
Well,
it has to be an actionable threat. It has to be an actionable threat. So, in other words, James Comey had to have either intent personally or had to have somebody that was willing, that he knew was willing to do the action, and he was directly signaling to them. I'm not saying it's not
his audience of millions of people. There's somebody in there that he
I don't think it's millions.
Hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, but millions certainly saw that. And we also have seen multiple attempts on Trump's life, at least one since that post.
Can you tie any of those attempts directly to that post?
Do you necessarily have to?
Yes,
there have to be.
Yes.
One of the guys that went up to Mar-a-Lago, or the recent guy, do they have to say, I saw that post and it made me go do that? Yeah. Or can you say that post from the moment it was posted contributed to what we see today? And it's safe to say some of these killers saw something like that.
Yes, because and again, this is going to be unpopular, but this is a slippery slope because he is in fact a private citizen now. Granted, yes, he was the FBI director in his past life. He is a private citizen now. He has every right to political speech, First Amendment protected political speech. So unless you can specifically tie one of the attempts on Trump's life to this, which they very well might be able to do, or you can tie Comey with other conversations using that post and exemplifying that post as a call to action to somebody to do something, and I know this is going to be, again, unpopular, but he's going to go in court and he's going to make the argument. I just saw that and I posted 8647. I mean, to the average civilian means cancel it. And that's political speech, to cancel somebody. So again,
understood.
Very
Brian,
weak.
Your point. We got it. I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, and the thing is, he can just say that and he's going to lie under oath. I mean, it's not going to matter. I get it all. I kind of want to move on from Comey because there's so many other things to cover, and we'll be sitting here on Comey for forever. But I think one thing
what I
that was
will
really
say
exciting,
before you move on, I will say this: I do believe in due process. I don't want a kangaroo system, but I'm actually all for just lawfare right now. I think it's totally fair. Like, they took it so far to one direction. I don't mind a nice little balancing act. If it means James Comey needs to be dragged to court, spend thousands of dollars, and it's taxpayers' money the DOJ is spending to make that happen, I support it 100 gazillion billion %, because they did it for 4 years.
Yeah.
They changed rules to go after Trump. So I can't wait to see him go to court. I need his lawyer. I'm going to make a video if his lawyer goes on CNN and loses his mind. I'm going to make videos on it. It's going to be fun. I'm here for the enjoyment of the process. The process is going to punish him, and I'm all for it. I'm a hypocrite.
Well, that's what Don Lemon was saying, today too. The process is the pain. We always talked about that because that was their whole point with Trump. But here, let's watch this clip here. This is beautiful. This is another Maze Moore clip, man. That guy posts their best stuff on X. Check it out.
He is being treated no better or worse than anyone else. This is not selective prosecution, that this is not somebody who's singled out, that he is being treated just like anyone else. That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what the Justice Department is really signaling and messaging here, is that everyone will be treated, as Merrick Garland has said, as equally in this country. This is really a great day for America.
This is such a horrendous moment for the rule of law, for the Department of Justice, for the country writ large, being singled out for impermissible reasons. And so just because you did your job, but just because you referred the president or you opened an investigation into the president, those are not legitimate reasons to have a sort of tit for tat vindictive prosecution. This looks like it. The emperor has no clothes. That this is the abuse that it appears to be.
Yeah.
That guy is like the caricature of the kind of guy that gets upset when Comey gets indicted. Like a guy in a turtleneck with those glasses is the only guy that's upset right now.
Well, no. Look, we got a homie right here.
Who? What?
Brian.
well, okay. So hold on. I could take the clip right there, and I could take clips from all of us 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, saying the same thing about weaponization of government, and now people are cheering for it. So I could do this. I could do that Maze Moore clip in the reverse.
I don't think this is weaponization, though. I think.
Look,
I think it could be subjective, right? It could be your personal opinion. Well, look, I understand that you're saying the indictment at face value looks weak, and I hope they have more than just what we're seeing so far, because I do see a future where a jury or even a judge, before even going to jury, says, dismissed. I can see that. But I make no. I am not going to lie and say, I'm nonpartisan. No, I'm a hypocrite. I am partisan. I want them to feel pain because they made us feel pain. If you find a clip of me saying they weaponized the Justice Department to get Trump, great, but you'll probably see a clip of me saying, and when we get in, we got to do the same thing, even back then. So I've always been consistent in I want retribution. I just call it justice.
I think Brian wants justice too. I think we all want to see Comey behind bars for the rest of his life. The problem I have, I
It's
don't want
the
to speak
wrong
for
crime.
Brian.
I get it. It's the wrong crime, but we're never going to get him on Russia.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I don't want to speak for Brian, but this is how I feel about it. If you go at him with a frivolous lawsuit after you've already failed to convict him with the Alina Habba situation on the previous indictment, that's two failed cases. Then you go after him in the grand
one of them
court.
didn't. One of them failed on procedure.
Okay,
though.
but it doesn't matter. It's the perception. Okay, then you go after him a third time in the big grand conspiracy case down in Florida after you failed to convict him 2 times with what looked like frivolous lawsuits. At that point, it's easy to make the case that this is weaponization of government, or that they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And whether or not, and then at that point, if it's the public's perception and the way that he'll be able to fundraise off of it and collect legal defense money because he's a martyr and a victim and this and that. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see this guy behind bars for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but you're not going to get him on the serious crimes he did commit.
Well,
so
talk about
and
it.
To be fair,
we're moving on from Comey. We circled.
Yeah,
we left.
Neil, what are you doing? You hate James Comey? You hate the indictment? What are you doing?
No, I don't like James Comey.
can't do
He's just
marathon
boring to
streaming
me at this
anymore.
point. We've killed this issue. Okay.
Well, I think it's important to talk about because none of us are going to be surprised by the outcome.
Yeah.
While I can enjoy, I'm going to enjoy the process and the pain for him. I can understand what Brian's saying, but the thing is, though, we all know the DOJ is not going to do the Russia thing. They're not going to take it serious.
Whoa. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. That's all part of the grand conspiracy going on right now, George. That's not true. I don't buy that for a second.
I hope you're right, but I don't see it.
I'm going to tell you the whole grand conspiracy case, just so you guys understand what's going on down there in Florida. This covers the 2020 election. It covers Russia. It's covering Act Blue even in the financing. It's covering all of this. The whole grand conspiracy case has all of this wrapped up in it. So that's where you're going to see the indictments flowing out of. Now, I don't know if they're just trying to keep Comey off his game right now as they're wrapping up some real serious charges. But I think we are going to see real serious charges. And Brian, you're nodding your head, so I want to hear your comment on this. And I want to get off Comey after this because I've got a couple other subjects I really want you guys to comment on.
Well, I mean, there's nothing more to say to the grand conspiracy other than I think that's the end goal on all of this. Solomon's been hinting to it for the last 6 months, but he's really picked up the banter on it over the last month or so. I think that is the ultimate goal. And to be fair, again, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about Comey, Neil, I promise. I'm only talking about Comey prima facie on the indictment as we know it now. I'm not considering any other evidence because we don't know what other evidence may or may not exist. Now, one of my colleagues over at Badlands Media had tipped to Josh Reed on this, had a very interesting theory that James Comey is willing to cooperate with the state in this conspiracy, but in order to do so, he has to appear as a target of this investigation, and that's why he was brought in on these charges so that he could turn state's witness kind of in secret, so to speak. Now, again, is that a long shot? Maybe, but it is a very interesting theory, and it's worth entertaining.
I don't see it.
All right. I want to talk briefly about Iran because, I see people chiming in on Iran all over the place. I'm just going to give you my take on Iran. I would rather not be at war than at war. But President Trump has been consistent. I think it's really weird how people are attacking to him. I think there's a lot of people who co-opted themselves into the movement with Trump who really weren't true believers in the first place. Okay. But the reality with Iran is if Iran, I've never trusted them. I've never had any problem with us taking out their nuclear capabilities. But it seems like right now it's really interesting because Schumer and the crew want to say he's taco Trump and he's folding. We obliterated, I don't know how many targets now we're up to. It's over 10,000 targets. We'd obliterated 1,000 within the first 24 hours. And now we're running a naval blockade, and Iran is in a stranglehold. And I'm going to read just something out of the Wall Street Journal here on this, and I think this is actually pretty spot on. The headline is, Iranians feel the pain as their economy descends into a death spiral. Businesses are closing, unemployment is soaring, and food is increasingly unaffordable. War has imposed a heavy cost on Iran's economy, more than 1 million people out of work, soaring food prices, and prolonged internet shutdown that has slammed online businesses. The question is how much more pain Iran's leaders are willing to tolerate as they try to negotiate a favorable end to the war. Talks between the U.S. and Iran have stalled. American officials are betting that Iran will soon crack because of the deepening economic crisis. Iran is betting the U.S. will crack and end its blockade of Iranian ports to calm global markets and bring down American gasoline prices. To contain the economic fallout, the Iranian government has raised wages, subsidized basic goods, and handed out cash to the poor. But authorities are confronting a level of hardship not seen in decades, according to residents. Okay, so I think Trump is in a waiting game on this. He is just holding up the ports. He's holding up $50 million a day of intake to the Iranian regime. And that eventually, I think he wins and the Iranian regime cracks. Do a round robin here. What do you guys think is going on? What do you like? Do a little projecting here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's only a matter of time. I mean, they can only hold out for so long because they're, and I'm not an expert in the oil industry, but from what I've understood is that they have a couple weeks before they're at full capacity, before their oil wells, their infrastructure will be forced to stop production, and the infrastructure is damaged. It could take tons of money to get things back up and running again. Not to mention, you said they're hemorrhaging day after day. So how long can they really hold out for? Before they're in complete collapse, they can't pay salaries. They're, you know, they've already dealt with, you know, like uprisings because, you know, they've spent so much money on their ballistic missile program, you know, that their economy is they've already experienced hyperinflation. So eventually the people are going to start rising up, I would think.
That's like something Lindsey Graham would say. Any day now, the Iranian people are going to start a revolt. But it just never happens because that regime, like they can spawn a new leader every 2 minutes. Like you got to think, like we took out like 5 layers of leadership, and like there's a new guy waiting. You know, it's like a Bonnie Blue scene. You know, there's like 10,000 dudes just waiting.
Jeez, keep it PG, George.
That just caught me off guard.
Ow.
Hold on.
Oh, Neil
little Christian boy George went straight.
No, there's the stories are out there on the internet. You know, you see them on X every day. But the point is, like you just have unlimited numbers of the new Ayatollahs. You know, they can spawn a new guy in. So that's the thing with Iran.
Mute control, Rebecca. I just want you to know if he ever gets too out of hand, just hit that mute button.
Okay, you're gonna James Comey me, huh? You're gonna censor my free speech, huh? No, but I'm actually curious what Brian has to say because you know you were in the military.
I think the whole thing, I mean, Trump's right where he wants to be right now. He's got the position of leverage. He always is from the position of leverage right now. I do think Mojtaba Khomeini is going to end up being the leader of Iran. Trump made clear last month.
Oh, he's not dead yet?
No, he's got like a leg and he's gay. So he's like pretty much the Khomeini regime is dead. No, you're seeing Pahlavi kind of make a reemergence, but Trump said this is the Venezuela the Venezuela program, right? We know the system. We did it in Venezuela. We're going to do the same thing in Iran. He said the same thing. So I think Khomeini is the guy that they're going to stay with in Iran. They're just waiting for them to realize that they have no option left. I will say the biggest loser in all of this right now is China. And that is a pretty good thing. But the ultimate goal here from Trump, I mean, it was just a month or two before this Iran conflict kicked off that he put out his national security agreement and talked about multipolar spheres of influence. And we do not have the sphere of influence in Iran. That's not our AO. So who entered the chat last week is Russia. Russia met with Aragchi, the foreign minister of Iran. And I think what we're going to end up seeing is I think Putin is going to be the one that ends up negotiating, brokering the deal.
Ironic.
That's
Why?
beautiful.
I think you're going to see Putin broker the deal.
Yeah, that's going to be so funny.
At the same time Aragchi was meeting with Putin, Trump was asked about the G20, and Trump said, yeah, we'd like to have him back at the G20. Russia back at the G20. When Obama took him out of the G7 and G8, that was a disservice to the G8. And so, again, I think he meets with Xi next month. And so when all of this comes to fruition, I think we're going to end up seeing Russia have a lot more influence over Iran. We're going to pull out of that region. We've got our Venezuelan oil. We're going to be golden. We got an influx of ships that are coming out of the Hormuz Strait and now heading to the Gulf of America to load up. I think Trump is pulling a masterclass here. Now, you know who's going to be the biggest loser in all of this? And this is going to be really unpopular. Well, China is already the biggest
Israel?
loser. Israel is going to be the biggest loser in all of this. Netanyahu, you're already seeing the Likud party go and try and do this unity party and kind of cast Netanyahu out. Netanyahu's up for an election in October.
He's going to lose, right?
If he doesn't win that election, he's going on trial. And, if he goes on trial, he's most likely going to lose. I mean, granted, this is what I've seen in American media, but the Netanyahu files and whatnot, there's a pretty solid case against him on corruption.
Yeah, bribery.
Yeah, bribery, corruption. And
Israel doesn't play about prosecuting corrupt politicians because they want their society to be as competent as possible.
Yeah.
So Netanyahu, there's solid evidence of him taking bribes for favors for these billionaires. It's if you look at what a Nancy Pelosi would do, or that one lady McCormick that Neil doesn't like very much or doesn't want us talking about. If you look at what they did, it's oh my gosh, millions of dollars. They just stole millions. In Israel, Netanyahu takes a meal and they're gonna send him to jail for the rest of his life. So it's actually serious. So you think he's going to lose the election, Brian?
Netanyahu, I think there's going to be a push to take over. So Trump just called for he didn't call for. He said Israel and Lebanon are going to continue their 3-week ceasefire. There's no way that that's going to happen. The only leg that Netanyahu will have to stand on is the Greater Israel Project. This concept of Israel absorbing Lebanon, Syria, parts of Lebanon and Syria, and becoming, a bigger state than what it is now. And so when they violate that, what's Trump going to do? We've already seen Trump give him the pee-pee slap several times now with the ports that Israel struck when Trump came out and said, right after Joe Kent resigned, when Netanyahu strikes those, what was that island? The
Karg?
Karg Island?
No, not Karg Island.
Fars oil field or something?
The SARS oil field, right.
Fars,
Netanyahu struck that. Israel struck that. And Trump was like, I had no idea about this. I'm very pissed off about this. Israel's got to do what they got to do, but they got to tell us if they're going to do stuff like that. Well, we saw it again happen, when the ceasefire first kicked off with Lebanon, when Israel was still striking Lebanon. And they're like, Israel shouldn't have done that. But J.D. Vance came out, well, they didn't know Lebanon wasn't included in. So again, there's a 3-week ceasefire. I personally think we're going to see somebody violate that. And I think it's most likely going to be Netanyahu.
Well, the idea of Greater Israel is not some concept. It's a real thing that Netanyahu. Yeah. And the goal is to expand their territory, basically for Israel to become the uncontested superpower hegemon in that region. And that's kind of how Bibi stays, in power. He keeps the country united behind him because he gives them this vision of future triumph. But if Iran's regime is still in place, they see that as a failure for them because their goal is we got to get rid of that regime. So we have a regime like Pahlavi who is favorable to them. And so it defeats all his objective if by the end of all this, Khomeini's son is still the leader and Russia and Iran and the US are making some kind of deal. But I don't know what happens, but it's going to be really interesting. For sure, China has lost massively because now the United States controls yet another choke point. Could China technically invade Taiwan now? Yeah, but they're going to run out of fuel in like a month or two. And we can choke off Venezuela. We can choke off Saudi Arabia. They're vassal states. We control the Saudi and everything they do. So, yeah, China's in a really tight position.
Well, the biggest impact of China is they're losing that sanctioned oil. They were buying oil at 15 to 20% discounts over OPEC prices. And you know, if you came over to the United States and took 15-20% off our energy costs, our economy would boom like you've never seen before. Yeah. So that was the biggest hit to them. The Venezuela thing, our relationship with Venezuela right now is fantastic. Next up, you're going to see Cuba. Cuba is going to be next. Okay, after
me and Neil need this, and Nick, of course. We need content. We don't need like a deal. We need some strikes. Like just bomb an airfield somewhere so we could do some videos. Like I do not want to see Marco Rubio in Havana, Cuba, signing nothing. We need to force them, even though they're willing. Like we got to blow something up just to show them who's boss, and so we can do some content. And Brian, I know you're going to be talking about it on Badlands.
Okay, do you know what I think, guys? This is actually, you're bringing up something that's really, really important, and something that's it's been rattling around in my head all the time watching Trump in this second term. And Rebecca's sharing your guys' links to your YouTube channels as well. So anybody, make sure you're following these guys. They're great. You've got Nick Moseder, you got Brian, which is CanCon, and then George AA. Make sure you're following them all. But Trump is reordering the world. And that's what I find to be the thing that I don't think a lot of people, I don't even think the media actually understands what the heck is going on. The whole thing, when you take Venezuela, you take how he is realigning, how he is basically telling, remember Vladimir Zelensky and the beatdown in the White House? One of the craziest things I'd ever seen in my life. Then you've got the whole situation with Iran, and he is really trying to get us back to focusing on the Western Hemisphere, Greenland, the Cuba situation, and you are seeing a complete realignment of allies. We are finding out that Europe is just a redheaded stepchild that was there to rob us blind. There is nothing right now.
Redheaded? What are you doing? Attacking redheads?
Currently comports with our Constitution. I mean, in Britain, you're getting jailed for free speech. You can't have a knife with a blade longer than 3 inches. I mean, it is absolute totalitarian crap over in Europe, and they're taking mass migration, and the citizens are rising up. But for some of those countries, quite frankly, it's probably too late. There was never a threat, really, in the Middle East of us not being able to stop those people from getting nuclear power. Look at what we're doing to Iran and how quickly that happened. But they are planning on outbreeding them. It's on the record in Europe and taking over nukes that way, because you got France, Germany, and the UK, all as nuclear powers, and all getting overtaken by Islamic regimes, basically from the inside. So Trump sees all that. He sees things clearly. He sees the world clearly. He doesn't have some fairy tale candy ass version of the world, and he's not trying to play nicey nice and do fake negotiations. And that's one of the reasons I like him so much, and why I like this whole world realignment. So you guys can all hit on that one. And Mandy, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Look at that. George, we missed you. Don't leave us like that again, George.
We're doing this sappy nonsense. I can't. A brother can't take a little time off, you know. A brother can't just a brother can't abandon his kids and let his woman take care of him for a little bit. Come on, I can't just get some milk every now and then. Oh, we missed you. What 2 weeks? I was gone 2 weeks. They thought I was dead. Neil did a video. He did a video like what do you call it? Like an obituary? What is it?
Obituary video.
Obituary. Yeah. Like what were you? Okay. Anyways,
I was texting George during his hiatus. When the SPLC indictment came out, I said, I think I know what my next video is going to be. George put that money. George took that money.
Oh man. Okay, see, you're gonna say that, and then someone's gonna believe it, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, he took the money." Just like remember when we did the George Soros joke? There's still people that think I took money from George Soros just because he's my namesake.
Well, you haven't proven that you didn't, so
exactly. Okay,
Open your books. Open your books.
What you were saying, Neil, is true. He is realigning the world. I guess my only disappointment so far with this administration has been the mass deportations that aren't really massing.
Yes,
it's
that'll
been
get you.
Accountability for Democrats, but maybe we might get that. You know, you guys might be right. The grand jury proceedings in Florida might take us to the promised land like Moses, and election integrity. But you know, that's more that has more to do with the Senate than anything else. But yeah, if he completely restructures global trade to favor this country and to get us out on top in this AI race, to defeat China in this soft influence thing that they do by controlling all the oil supply, I think that's transformational. And I'm frozen. Sorry, I was frozen there. I said something really smart. And I love you, Brian. You know, even though you have a bald head, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna hang out in Florida very soon.
God, this dude is just dogging me left and right. Well, I got my
no, but I love you. I would kiss your bald head, and then I'd buy you dinner.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Yeah.
All I heard was kiss your bald, and mine was.
What? No, it's okay. I would smooch your bald head.
You remember when we went shooting?
Oh,
with
hey guys, I gotta. Mary Ellen just sent me a $100 super, and it says, "Great seed and amazing soil. Keep up the awesome work." I did notice her earlier comment. She said, "I just love you, men," in caps. Like, you know, I think Mary Ellen appreciates the fact that she doesn't think we're soy boys.
Or then, she's misogynistic and she doesn't appreciate women.
Another hot take from Bahizzy, guys.
That's right. Thanks again for that other one too, Mandy. Thank you for that. Brian, you were saying here about the reordering, restructuring of the world. Nick, I want to get your thoughts on this too.
I'm all for it, man. This is the. Oh, sorry. Good.
Wait.
Nick. He said Brian, so I didn't know. Good.
My bad. I don't know what he said. I just heard my name. But yeah, I'll just be quick. I'll just say I think a lot of people look at the Iran situation as a singular data point, and you made a great case, a great argument about if you look at all the data points, when you look at Venezuela, when you look at Cuba, when you look at Greenland, the Golden Dome, and Iran, and you take it all into account, what Trump is attempting to do is, and let's be honest, Trump can attempt to do something that is not successful at the end of the day. I mean, this Iran situation could go south, could go sideways, but for right now, if you just look at what Trump is attempting to do, it is a complete and total restructuring, reorder of the global power structure, global trade, and up until this point, virtually everything he's done has been largely successful. So I've taken sort of a wait and see approach on a lot of this stuff.
You know, if Trump wasn't a businessman, Nick, I would hate him. Like, if I didn't know he was trying to make a deal at the end, I'd be like, damn, you're blowing everything up. But the fact that I know he is in pursuit of an agreement, you know, he wants to come out and say, wow, everyone said a deal wasn't possible. And look, I made a deal. Like, I think I'd like, imagine if he was just George Bush. Like, be like, what the heck, man? What are you doing? But it's the idea that we know there, like, he's structuring something, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know Brian's going to cook here, so prepare yourselves.
Well, I mean, this has been kind of the theory that we've been working with for quite some time on Donald Trump and what his end goal with all of this is. His national security agreement laid it out, the multipolar spheres of influence. I think we're going to end up seeing the restructuring of the world lead to the United States being in control of the Western Hemisphere, and this is going to include Canada. This is going to include Central America and South America. You're going to see somebody emerge, and I don't know who yet, but most likely Germany, perhaps Britain, in Europe, especially Western Europe. You're going to see Russia have control over, not control, it's not like we're not creating the USSR again, but Russia's going to have the influence over Eastern Europe and parts of Western Asia. China is going to have a role in this in Eastern Asia. India will probably have a role as well. But this has kind of been the multipolar spheres of influence that Trump has alluded to for quite a long time. In the Middle East, you're going to have Israel and Saudi Arabia. Perhaps Iran has a role in this in some form or fashion. That's going to kind of all be on them. The Don Road doctrine is what President Trump alluded to with this. What I'm most focused on right now in terms of the geopolitics is what President Trump is doing in Central and South America right now. And I feel like everything that he's doing is a direct smackdown to the intelligence apparatus that has been controlling all of Central and South America, the CIA especially with their narcotics, DEA as well with their cartels. Those cartels are run by the CIA, guys. I mean, anybody that thinks that, sure, you have a cartel boss that's running them, they're in bed with the CIA, right? They are in bed with with our own intelligence community. President Trump is pushing back strongly against that. When we went in and got out Maduro, what's the first thing President Trump did? He put Vice President Delcy Rodriguez in charge of Venezuela. He didn't, cuck to the intelligence apparatus, the USAID and National Endowment puppet that is Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't say, hey, you come on in. It's your turn to rule Venezuela. Bring this country back. No, he said, Delcy, you got this. We're going to lift the sanctions. We're going to stop, putting the thumb down on your economy. We're going to stop the Western sanctions against Venezuela, and we're going to open up trade. And we're going to see how you guys can do in your country, your own sovereignty. If you guys go back to, you remember the speech that President Trump gave when he was in, was it in the United Arab Emirates? One of the first speeches he gave when he went over to the Middle East. And Mohammed bin Salman was there. You had Qatari there. All these countries were there. President Trump gets up there and says, specifically talking about Iran, just because we don't agree with what goes on inside of your country, that's your own culture. That's your own sovereignty. It doesn't mean we can't do business with you. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I love
with you. And one of the other things that he said about that, and this is what we're seeing come to fruition in Iran right now, is he said American influence will not dictate your country's policy. We are going to yield to your sovereignty. We're no longer going to have the CIA color revolutions that we've seen in Eastern Europe, the color revolutions that took place in 1953 in Iran, and then again in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution. President Trump is undoing all of the globalist intelligence control that we have had over and this is the hegemony that is the United States. That is the United States intelligence community.
Yeah.
I am ecstatic about what President Trump is doing right now.
Could you imagine Cuba is being led by Fidel Castro's grandson?
Raul Castro.
Like his grandson's going to be like, oh, that's
Crab is his nickname. His nickname is the Crab.
Yeah, that has to happen. I love the idea that we don't have to do like a actual regime change. We can just work with the regime that's, look, we took out your top guy. Now you got to play ball with us. It's an incredible way to conduct business. You can make a deal with anybody. That's what Trump is about. Like he'll make a deal with, I wouldn't say the devil, but I don't know. He would tell the devil, we'll buy your goods. You can run hell. He'll do something like that.
You keep your shit down in hell, but we can do business. If you want to sell us something, we'll sell you goods. You sell us goods. Your people got to
but you have to pay a 15% tariff just like everybody else.
That's right. Especially on water. Water's 30%. I hear it's hot down there. You're going to need it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about what President Trump is doing right now. And all of this, by the way, all of the pushback that you're seeing in the United States right now, the no kings, all of that stuff is being exposed through the Act Blue funding, the SPLC. I think the ACLU is going to be coming up here very soon. That's my opinion. The ACLU is going to be next up on the chopping block. All of this right now,
Media Matters.
Media Matters is going to be up there on the chopping block. You're going to see all of this expose, I think, coming up. And it's going to be very quickly because I think this is something he wants to have done maybe by July 4th for the 250th, but definitely by the 2026 midterms.
Yeah. Oh, can I add this? Everyone here, like Nick just shook his head. He's like, man, we're tired of hearing from you. Look,
you keep adding
all of us here know that Trump plays into the madman theory, right? Where he says brinksmanship. He says something so insane, and it's like he might do it, he won't do it. In his heart, he doesn't want to do it, but he's willing, he has to demonstrate that he's willing to do it. So when he makes a threat,
praise be to Allah.
Okay, maybe not that one, but when he makes a threat that he's gonna, destroy Persia, the Iranian civilization, and that's a crazy statement. What I don't like on our side is people knowing that he's brinksmanship, like he wants to put pressure on them to make a deal with them, but then they will defend if he were to go literally destroy Persia. That's my problem sometimes. We have to be consistent all throughout. We know he's saying it to get a deal, but then we can't prepare to defend it if he were to do it in that crazy circumstance. So I just think there has to be consistency on the right wing. I was seeing people legitimately say, here's why destroying Persia, nuking bridges is a good idea. I was like, what are you talking about? Here's why blowing up every building in Iran is actually genius. It's like, okay, Trump said that because he wants a deal. You're saying that because you're just defending it. That's what I don't like.
Remember the bridge that he was like, I'm going to blow up this bridge. Did you know that bridge was already under construction? That wasn't a functioning bridge. That remember when he blew up the bridge, or he said, I'm going to blow up the bridge, and Iran's like, okay, we'll make a deal. That was a bridge that was already under construction. It wasn't a functioning bridge that people were using every single day. And if they cut it off, all of a sudden logistically, these people are cut off from society. It was all a ploy. President Trump is a master at deal making. He knows the position of leverage. He knows, when to be tough, and he knows when to be, a softie. And he's playing the part exactly the way that needs to be played.
Do you know what really frustrates me, guys, is all these people who on the right feel they need to apologize for some outlandish statement that Trump makes. I mean, they haven't figured this game out by now. And then the people who also were all in his camp, and then all of a sudden now they don't trust him. Now all of a sudden he went from genius. He was playing 5D chess so deep you couldn't possibly understand it, 85,000 moves ahead, but now he's all of a sudden an idiot. And
it's like a multi-directional problem. You have people who who can't criticize anything. When he posted himself as Jesus, half of MAGA was like, that's wrong. The other half was like, that's actually symbolism.
Doctor.
See, that's precisely. It's like, okay, yeah, doctors just dress up like Jesus and heal the sick with their hands,
you saw the Red Cross nurse, and we support the Red Cross.
Okay, well, so there's people who it's like, why can't we just be normal? Why can't it be and then you have those people who, the anti-war libertarians who, they're opposed to every war. I'm like, nah, there's some countries I'd love to go to war with. But, obviously I don't want war, but if it's taking Maduro out in 6 hours, yes, do that. But, they're just opposed to war at all times. So I just think it's, there's a lack of consistency from so many different pockets of the coalition.
Okay, well, here's another option. Just stay quiet. I mean, just shut up. I mean, seriously, there's so much
that
I
doing
don't
James Comey again. They're doing the James Comey. I do think it is it's important for everyone to voice their opinion. I
don't think, no, George, I disagree. I 100% disagree. I do not need my opinion on everything. I only need opinions on things that I'm firmly grounded on or feel strongly about and actually have knowledge on the subject. That's why I'm not super opinionated on Iran. First off, I don't get the presidential daily briefings. I don't know how close Iran actually was to having a nuke. And so it's kind of foolish for me to really postulate on that too much. I don't have a lot of connections in the foreign intelligence apparatus and so on and so forth. I know more about domestic things. I know enough about election integrity to have a real strong opinion on that. I also have a very strong opinion on fiscal responsibility. And it's one of the things that I don't like to see us get away from. There's a whole thing I could do on that. But the other thing, back to your point earlier, George, because we have deported now at this point, somewhere based upon self-deportations and deportations, somewhere around 2.5 to 3 million people, whatever that number is, it is. But you're right. I wanted to see 10 million by this point, and I don't have it.
It's slowing down too because of the midterms and the narrative around that. But let me ask you this, Neil.
Yes.
Obviously, you're not saying someone has to be an expert on a subject to have an opinion on it. But could you also see where someone else feels like they've done the amount of research you have on election integrity? But, in this case, it'd be like, Venezuela or Iran or anything. And then they have a strong opinion one way or the other, but they're not necessarily privy to all the information that, the president might be seeing. Could you see how there might be a person that feels they've done that kind of research and are able to, which isn't even the majority of people that have these opinions, but do you see how that person can exist?
I see how they can exist. I think it just gets much tougher when you're dealing with foreign issues as opposed to domestic issues. But the other thing is, so when I watch everything that's going on, I just realized that I don't need to be an alarmist because I have seen Trump perform well enough in his first term. The economy of 2019 before COVID hit, I think it's the greatest economy I ever experienced.
Yeah.
The Trump economy during those years was absolutely off the hook. Okay. He drove gas prices down. He drove productivity up. He slashed regulation. And we're seeing even more regulation slashing now in his next term. Look, I just know that I don't need to sit there and look at things that he's doing and just second guess the guy all the time. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything, but it means I can sit there with a wait and see and just wonder, well, what has he got going on? Because he's been right so many times before. Maybe I don't know enough.
Okay. So let's say he posted that picture with the Jesus thing, the now deleted post, and no one said anything. What happened? What does that make the movement look like to not be able to say, hey, don't post that? Why would you post that?
Here's what it does, George. It just goes away.
I don't think it gets deleted without the reaction. The reaction is important. Okay, let's say this, right? One thing Trump has said that you and I spoke about that I disagree with is when he comes out and he says, we know how we can get housing more affordable, but we don't want to crash the prices, for people who bought their homes for $50,000 in like 1960 or something, right? He doesn't want those people to lose their values, but he knows that there are policies he could put in place to increase building, all these different things to get housing prices down. I would say that's something that we have to be vocal about. We have to say, no, we just want prices down. We want housing more affordable for everybody. Like that's a good thing to have. In the long run, it creates more conservatives, the more home ownership we have. So if we just don't say anything about that opinion there, how does he know that's not, he needs to shift his stance on that?
We're talking about two diametrically polar things here. Okay. So first off, and here's what I mean by that, is when you're talking about like housing prices, that is something that I'm talking about things like the Jesus, or when he says something about nuking the bridges. I mean, I just don't feel the need to comment on that stuff. Now, domestic policy, we know much more because we feel the effects of domestic policy. And you could say, well, we feel the price of increased oil. Understood, but we don't actually know all the ins and outs of that war and everything that's going on and how Trump is restructuring the world. I mean, saying that we need lower home prices for people like, my daughter Rebecca here, she's going to have to buy a home someday, or she's going to get married, and that, they're going to have to buy a home together. To have homes that are completely unaffordable is not an option. So of course you say something about that. I just don't think we need to say things about the hyperbolic things that Trump does. I mean, it just seems silly for us to always feel the need to comment on that. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
There is certain things I don't see. This is why I'd say it's safer for me to take the stance that everything is up for criticism than to case by case. Is this up for criticism? Is this not? I just think
no. It's not that it's not up for criticism, George. That's not the point. The point is not that it's just not up for criticism because we are free agents able to think. I think that those of us who are watching this feeling we need to comment on everything is a little bit silly. That's my point. Okay, so it's like people respond to things so quickly. So it doesn't matter. Like when Trump made the roads and bridges statement, everybody's freaking out. He's going to wipe out a whole civilization. I mean, within hours. Okay. I mean, without ever letting it just sitting back and seeing what's real. Okay. I work for media does not matter, David.
Well, that much is clear, Neil. That much is clear. that much is clear. That makes sense. I don't know why someone would think he's serious about that. And I actually did say earlier that you have the opposite. You have two opposite reactions. This is crazy. Why would he say this? And then you have here's why I'd be smart if he nuked Iran. Like you have the two opposite sides. I think everyone should just chill out in moments like that. But you were saying something more like, if you almost disagree with something, just wait and see. And I'm saying, if you disagree with something, you should say it because it might be a legitimate mistake on his part, or there might be some incorrect inputs. He might have thought that was smart. That was awesome. And then, just saying it out loud or hearing it from his base actually directs him on the right path. And I think that's what we need more of. More criticism.
There's actually something really good I could say on that, George, that actually agrees with you because of some decision. But I want to hear from Brian and Nick on this too. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts?
I think you guys are putting way too much weight into what Trump says on social media, et cetera. I think a lot of that is just rhetoric that is meant to inflame people, that is meant to draw attention to certain matters. And he does that for that specific reason.
And we're not just talking about rhetoric. We're now talking about actions as well.
Such as?
That's what I was just saying, Brian, that exact same thing. But when you talk,
rhetoric is different. Right?
And I do apologize. I had a bit of a crisis, so for the beginning of that, I was distracted. But what specific actions are you talking about?
Okay, let me just say what his concept on home affordability, and my idea.
That's not action. That's a concept. Go ahead.
Well, not concept, but the lack of action. Or whatever, or whether it's an endorsement of some kind.
What type of pressure should the executive branch of the federal government have over the economy of the United States, specifically corporations and what businesses do?
Okay, here's what I'm saying. Trump said he has things he's able to do that would bring housing prices down.
Mm-hmm.
But he says he doesn't want people who have owned their houses for decades to just lose a bunch of value that they've accumulated over the last few years from, the price increases. And I'm saying we should be able to criticize things like that if we disagree with it. Whereas Neil is more in the position, if you have a disagreement, just, keep it to yourself sort of thing and wait and see. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to wait and see. Or let's say he makes an endorsement that I don't agree with. I'm not going to come out and say it's 3D chess. I'm going to say that's a stupid endorsement. So I believe in feedback. Or when he posts, him as Jesus, I criticize that and it came down. Some people were defending it. I'm saying, the wait and see. And I think it's a reciprocal relationship. He gives, we get. We also give, he gets. So we can't just assume, oh, like he's acting in perfection on everything.
No, not at all, George. In fact, you and I have talked about this, and I've even criticized the whole home prices thing. That the reality is young people need to be able to afford homes, and I've called that out. We need deflation in housing. We flat out need deflation. I mean, I don't. My house, the value of my home, when I sell it and I go to buy in that same market, guess what? My home, I'm buying and selling in a similar market. So my home losing value, the other homes are losing value. Real estate isn't this big thing that everybody thinks it is. Okay. If you're talking your personal home, of course, if you have apartment complexes and all that, but I'm not getting into that. The bottom line is this: when Trump came out and said that he wanted to ban corporations from owning single family homes, that is the very type of move that actually would help us with housing affordability. I don't know what moves he could do to like just cause housing prices to come down. That's more of a general output of the economy, but wage prices have not kept up.
It doesn't. With this one specifically, I'm just saying, if him saying a statement like that means directionally, he's not where he's supposed to be. That can't be the rhetoric he's supposed to be using. And I'm saying, but forgetting that, there's plenty of other micro actions across years, not even out of office, that I would say, oh, that's something to criticize. But there are some people that would say you can't actually ever criticize. That's how we started this whole thing. I said there should be actual criticism. And then Neil said, oh, no, on things like that, you just kind of wait and see. And I do think there needs to be constant pressure on our government at all times, and not just pressure. If the president does something that you disagree with, you should come out with it, even if you're not that informed on it. You should just say it, because that's kind of the nature of the country we're in.
So going back to what Brian said, Brian's talking about specific actions, right? So like if Trump did something that kept home prices high, I would say something about that. I have disagreed with Trump. I mean, you guys all know that when he signed the first stimulus bill, the second stimulus bill during COVID, I adamantly opposed that. I did not. Well, I mean, we were doing gender studies in Pakistan and stuff. I mean, I was not pro signing that bill. That's just something I wasn't for. So I will make those statements. That's real policy initiatives. But this whole, what Trump posts on social media, I could care less. Honestly, that's just nothing I need to like make big comments on. But Nick, you've been quiet down there in the corner, George. I'm letting Nick talk. Nick, I want to hear from Nick.
Sure, Neil. Thanks for bringing me in. Yeah, just listening to you guys go back and forth, I was kind of tuning in and out, but overall, the gist of it seems to be a debate about whether or not we can criticize Trump or not. And all I'll say about that is Trump has been the most lied about, persecuted, lawfared. I mean, he's become they have weaponized the government against him. They have tried to destroy his legacy, his businesses, take everything from him. And we've all witnessed that. And why did they do that? Because he was pulling the right levers and pissing off all the right people. And so a lot of people that support Trump perceive any ounce of criticism as friendly fire. I think I don't know, about you guys, but if I make a YouTube video and I could give the tiniest critique or criticism about something Trump did or said, and it's like a flurry, 1,000 comments about how I'm a paid shill, and I'm
precisely. This is what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Real thing.
And yeah, it's a very real thing. And as I'm sure it sounds a little crazy, you guys, if you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't have any large social media following, if you never experienced that, it's kind of sobering and overwhelming. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they get angry at the response from their audience, and they double down, and then they triple down, and then they start going full black-pilled. And I don't think that's healthy or productive at all. And I also don't think it's healthy or productive for us to react in such a, so vehemently to any critique of Trump or any policy decision that he does. Because at the end of the day, we are citizens and Trump is the president. He's the head of the executive branch of the government, and as conservatives, I think we've all traditionally been very critical of the government, and that, things have just gotten to the point where things have gotten so black and white. It's like you're either with us or against us. You're either all the way with Trump and everything he does, or you are cast
James
aside.
Comey.
You are James Comey. And I find that frustrating. My personal experience has been it's a little frustrating at times, but at the end of the day, I support the president and most of what he does, and I think we all do. But I think we should have the freedom to express when we feel we don't agree with something and not face a mob of backlash. That's all I got to say about it. I don't even know if that's relevant to what you
that's
guys are
actually
talking about.
precisely
Very relevant.
That's precisely what I'm getting at, right? If Trump endorses, I don't know, Dan Crenshaw, I'm sure he's probably done it in the past to some point. If he comes out and endorses Dan Crenshaw and you say that's a bad endorsement, it's like you just admitted to being Rosie O'Donnell, and then they tell you trust the plan, and then you're like, no, I don't think Dan Crenshaw's a plan. And then they say, you're just like the rest of them. How could you not support this move? It's 3D chess. So that's what I mean by we should be allowed to literally take anything and go, I don't like that, and I'm going to post it out there. And it shouldn't be construed as, I hate Trump,
So let's get back to that Dan Crenshaw thing, because he's endorsed Lindsey Graham several times, right? Last week on our Sit Rep podcast over on Badlands, we had Chad Caton on, and Chad Caton is intimately involved in South Carolina's politics. And when Lindsey Graham, when that story came up, Chad has no love for Lindsey Graham. Chad's a U.S. Navy vet. And we talked about Lindsey Graham and the warmonger that he is, the war hawk that he is. We made fun of him for the gay jokes, with the Disney jokes, like all these things we made fun of. And then it got down to, well, why don't you run against him? I can't. Well, why can't you? Lindsey Graham has complete and total control over South Carolina's politics. Bahizzi, you believe elections are free and fair right now?
No.
Okay. So hold on. You don't believe elections are free and fair. So do you think there's an avenue in which you could unseat Lindsey Graham in a Republican primary in South Carolina if elections are free and fair? And by the way, I think South Carolina is probably top 5 most corrupt states outside of the swing states that we always deal with. Out of the normie states, South Carolina's top 5 corruption. Do you think you could, or do you think there's a candidate out there that could unseat Lindsey Graham with the political power that he has in South Carolina?
Yeah, I'll say this: if Trump endorsed somebody,
hold on, let me cook here. Do you think that he could unseat Lindsey Graham, or if somebody could unseat Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, with a Trump endorsement.
Even with a Trump endorsement, the political machine. Again, elections are not free and fair, right?
Well, was Trump?
Graham,
how did Trump win in 2016?
He was the Republican nominee.
Well, yeah, the system was also broken then, wouldn't you say?
It may or may not have been broken.
Right, but he had the popular support with him. So
correct.
If you have a candidate who is charismatic, who has the right support, and who has people with him, they can win.
No. He won in 2016 because nobody was awake to that. We didn't wake up to election fraud firmly, like actual, not the Hunter Biden laptop suppression, not Russiagate. And by the way, that was after 2016, all the Russiagate. 2020 was the first time we ever got a real taste of how corrupt our elections actually were.
2018, really. But what you're saying is what you're saying.
Hold on 1 second.
The midterms.
Brian brought something up, and I had never actually thought of this. The whole thing with South Carolina. So
Look at the
I
primaries,
actually,
the 2020 primaries. Look at the 2020 primaries for the.
By the way, I don't think that's why
no.
Trump isn't endorsing someone else other than Lindsey Graham. I think he just likes
I
Lindsey
agree
Graham.
with both you guys here. I think you're right, George. But to Brian's point, something really amazing, because I get these updates. You guys know, maybe you don't. Adam Morgan, who's in the South Carolina House of Representatives, he's a great voice, very conservative, and he texts me stories all the time. And you know, you're right, Brian. South Carolina is unbelievably corrupt because they have Republican supermajorities, and they are bringing forth actual leftist judges and nominating them and seating them in the courts in South Carolina. This is absolutely wild. I had never actually thought of this angle, Brian. To George's point, I do believe that if Trump really got behind and campaigned for someone in South Carolina, that they could actually beat Lindsey Graham and they could overcome the fraud. That's a whole separate issue. But you're right about this. And I had never even thought about it, Brian. But why am I always getting these stories? How can we have South Carolina with Republican supermajorities able to get absolutely anything they want done? And yet you look at the justices that they are. I'm going to look that story up while you guys are cooking here. But this was wild. Adam sent me this one just a little bit ago.
If you go back to the 2020 primary when Joe Biden was running for the Democratic ticket against Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, and the whole ilk, Joe Biden wasn't even a top 5 contender in Idaho, Nevada, all the first primary states, New Hampshire. It wasn't until South Carolina when Joe Biden won every single district. He went from, I think Bernie Sanders won a couple delegations. Pete Buttigieg, I think, won a couple. And then all of a sudden they go to South Carolina, the 3rd or 4th state to primary. And Joe Biden wins everything. And from there, it was all downhill. And what did they try and do in 2024? They tried to make South Carolina the first primary state for the Democrats. Why? So that they could set the tone for Joe Biden. South Carolina is incredibly corrupt.
Brian, I love you, but I don't see how. So what I said was, if I were to criticize the Trump endorsement, people would be like, how can you not see the 10D chess? And I'm saying, I don't think Trump is endorsing Lindsey Graham for some technical reasons. I think he just likes him. I think he also picks winners. Of course, that's all true.
No, he's using him.
Huh?
He's using him.
I don't think so. I think Trump likes Lindsey Graham.
He puts him on stage at a Trump rally in South Carolina. The guy gets booed off stage.
And then they play golf together. Okay, you can say he's using him, but they have a genuine friendship.
Oh, no, they very well could be friends.
Right.
But he knows that Lindsey Graham is not the guy for South Carolina, but he's the only option right now. So if he goes against Lindsey Graham and Lindsey Graham goes and pulls the strings in the corrupt
I believe that was true if that was the case with literally every bad endorsement he's made. But it's not. Okay. Like, you cannot bring the same Lindsey Graham, that person's unbeatable.
But you're
like that
argument
that
can't have free and fair elections, and you're assuming that if he endorses the guy, the elections to get that guy elected are actually going to be good. He is a transactional guy right now when it comes to these elections. He knows.
Yeah, and I am allowed to criticize that. I'm allowed to say, Mr. President, I think you should take the risk. Who cares if South Carolina is corrupt? You are the president of the United States. You have the political swag to literally endorse anyone you want. Your name is so powerful. The people are going to support whoever you pick. They're going to donate millions of dollars. You're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars yourself. We will back you. Take the risk. I'm allowed to say, why aren't you doing that? Now, I didn't even bring up Lindsey Graham. That was you. I brought up Dan Crenshaw. I don't even know if Trump has endorsed Dan Crenshaw, but it was an example. Like, I'll criticize an endorsement, and then people were like, oh, so you hate Trump. I'm like, no, I'm criticizing that endorsement because I don't like it. I don't like that endorsement. I think we can do better.
Fair. That's totally
fair.
Too.
But I don't want to hear like, oh, it could be this. I just want to criticize it,
Trump is picking the guy that he knows is going to win. And then when
that's bad. That's bad because they screw him over when it counts.
He has
look at the say that.
I see both of these, and I've thought of this, but I do want to bring this in. Rebecca, pull this up. This is wild, guys. Check this out. So this is one of the ones Adam Morgan sent me, and this is the who they just brought in. This 2 new South Carolina judges elected by the GOP supermajority. Will Wheeler is a former liberal Democrat legislator who resigned from the House last year to run. Rebecca West reportedly attended the Pink Hat DC march protesting pro-life policies and Trump. And look at this vote. It's not even close. I mean, so this is what's going on in South Carolina. To your point, Brian, this is really big. The other thing, I want to bring in that next one, Rebecca. Check this out. This is another
Neil,
wild.
let me ask you this. Wouldn't then the smart thing to do be to change that by...
I concur. But to Brian's point, this is pretty deep-seated. So let me just finish this. South Carolina tax dollars spent on queer historical podcasts through the South Carolina Arts Commission. Why are any government funds going to podcasts, let alone this garbage? In response, the GOP supermajority just increased the Arts Commission's budget. Now, these are things that are radically simple. Okay, like you can't find a grassroots Republican in South Carolina who would agree with this crap. Doesn't exist.
So you would say that the overwhelming number of people in South Carolina they're hungry for someone new and someone to unify behind.
Yes, but here's the question then, George, to Brian's point. So I'm not disagreeing with you here. I don't want to see Lindsey Graham in there anymore. Okay, but to Brian's point, if this is real, if this is what's happening and the Republican base in South Carolina doesn't want it, then how are these people getting elected?
They're getting elected because
our elections are fake.
No, because Trump endorses Lindsey Graham.
Are fake. No, the conversation ends.
They're fake to a certain extent, but the truth is
they're fake to the fullest extent.
Okay. Lindsey Graham is legitimately winning. I believe Lindsey Graham is legitimately winning. I think he's winning. Like, he's winning because the majority of people that are voting for him. I don't think his opponents in the Republican primary were people who would have won if, like, they weren't cheated out of it. I believe, I'll say this right here, I genuinely believe Lindsey Graham is getting the majority of votes to win in South Carolina. And
Lindsey Graham is winning the primaries because he can bully anybody out of the primaries, because he has the Republican Party in South Carolina in his back pocket. And then in a supermajority state like South Carolina, you're not going to lose the general election. So you don't have to get as crazy there. But it's the primaries that are the key here. And
right. So the idea is to endorse someone else.
You can't. The entire you only turn on the election rigging machine when you need to turn on the election rigging machine. Okay. And Lindsey Graham is one of the key.
I get it. I get what you're saying. Yes, the system is absolutely corrupt, but that's a defeatist mindset to say that.
No, that's not a defeatist mindset. That's an acknowledging the problem. That's the foundation of.
So Trump shouldn't try to endorse someone because he can't. That's the defeatist mindset. He can't do it because it's going to be fraudulent. I'm saying he should try. But the reason he won't try is because he likes Lindsey Graham, which comes back to my original point. He's not endorsing Lindsey Graham he's endorsing Lindsey Graham.
He's a transactional guy. He understands that if he doesn't endorse Lindsey Graham and the fraud is actuated and Lindsey Graham ends up winning, Lindsey Graham is going to go to war with President Trump in the Senate. And with the coffers that he has in the Republican Party, he will be at least mildly successful. I'm not going to say he'll defeat him, but he would be at least mildly successful in that. Trump already has enough slings and arrows coming at him from the Democrats. He doesn't need the Republicans as well. So Trump, as a transactional guy, says my best opportunity here is to get behind Lindsey Graham until we fix this election crisis in this country. And that is why he's backed Lindsey Graham. And that is why he brings him out on stage in South Carolina every single time to a crowd of boos so that Lindsey Graham is reminded, bitch, you're mine.
I can see why you would come to that. I just think Trump likes Lindsey Graham.
Yeah,
Lindsey might be a nice.
I could see him golfing and going, I like this guy. You know, we didn't always start well, but I like him now. Like, I could just see Trump endorsing him because he likes him and they get along.
And he says that as the crowd is booing him, and he says, hey, come on, guys, this guy's not so bad. And they're like, boo. And Trump's just smiling like, bitch your mind.
Oh, okay.
Trump has made some objectively bad endorsements, though. I mean, there's no getting around that. And I think what confuses a lot of people is that, you know, he backs somebody like Lindsey Graham, despite having endless ammunition and reason not to, but is, you know, and she brought it upon herself, but will, you know, cast out Marjorie Taylor Greene, and go after people that were previously considered loyalists, that had a pretty good track record up until the point they started criticizing him. And he'll go after people like that, but then he'll continue to prop up people like Lindsey Graham, despite having ample reasons not to. It's kind of a contradiction, I think, leads to a lot of conflicting opinions. And I really don't have the answer. I truly don't. I don't know why Trump continues to endorse Lindsey Graham. And I think Brian's theory is interesting, but I can't say I believe it for sure. I mean, there's a lot of decisions Trump makes that I don't understand.
Knowing Trump, he is a guy, yes, like Brian is saying. Brian is right. Trump is a guy that thinks strategically for sure. But I think Trump is also someone who is willing to literally go to his enemy's wedding or his enemy's funeral, because I don't think he has like a hateful bone in his body.
No,
I think he's a people person. I think he likes people. I genuinely believe that. I think Trump likes people. I think if you told Trump right now, look, you've attacked Hillary Clinton for years, but she wants to be friendly, he'll pick up the phone and be like, all right, Hillary, let's forget everything we've said. Let's do whatever. I don't think he's looking at Lindsey Graham like I'm using you. He's looking at him like a friend at this point. I think Trump is a guy that can be friends with anybody. He'll be a friend with Kim Jong-un if he has to. That's his personality. And whoever, he's just not like this. He's not a snake. He's a very loyal person from what we're seeing. So I don't think he's also very highly opinionated. If he doesn't like someone, we'll know yesterday. And if he hasn't said he doesn't like that person, I wouldn't assume he hates them. I would be like, all right, cool.
I think it's also pretty obvious that loyalty is the number one currency with Trump. You know, that he values loyalty over almost anything. And we've seen he's willing to forgive people that have criticized him in the past if they're willing to.
I remember Lindsey Graham endorsed him, like one of the first endorsements. I think from that moment, Trump was like, his love eyes, the stars just aligned. He was like, I always knew I liked you. I don't see the whole using him angle, propping him up to tear him down. I think that is like, I don't know why we have to think that way. We can just say, hey, look, he endorses this guy that we don't like, but that he's allowed to do that because he's the president. And it's his opinion, but I'm allowed to criticize it because I voted for him. And I wanted something different.
So Trump is a purely a business guy, and the people that you all mentioned, Hillary Clinton, all those other people, are all in the sphere of his business. Kim Jong-un, Lindsey Graham, all these people are in the sphere of his business. It's not a personal thing. If you're beneficial to him, he will be on your side. If you're not beneficial to him, he will cast you out. Now, that's not to say that President Trump, and I know many people that know him or have known him personally.
Well, there are people that have screwed him over that he's kind of just accepted back into.
Let me finish, B. And have had personal interactions with him. And on a personal level, Donald Trump is a totally different person. He is an extremely caring person. He is a heart on the sleeve kind of guy. But when it comes to business, he is purely transactional. If Lindsey Graham is the avenue that is going to get him his will in Congress, in the Senate, then he's going to go that route. If opposing Lindsey Graham is going to cause friction in the Senate, then he is not going to push against him. He's going to back that. And as somebody in the chat said, Lindsey Graham has voted 94% of the time with Donald Trump on his agenda.
That's true. And that's a good point. I think what Trump wants at the end of the day is a coalition of people behind him that when he says move, they move, right? And if you go against him, then you're done. And Lindsey Graham does what he needs to do to keep Trump from casting him aside.
Right, but the idea is that so couldn't it all be true? And then couldn't it also be true that I'm allowed to be like, you know what? I still don't care for Lindsey Graham. I think Trump should use his political capital. But it sounds like I have to be convinced that the reason he's doing it is this genius reason. I think Trump likes Lindsey Graham, and for whatever reason, he likes him. Lindsey, like Nick is saying, Lindsey Graham votes with Trump a lot. Well, so did Marjorie Taylor Greene. They were also voting on it. So the inconsistency is what a lot of people are talking about. It's like Marjorie was with you, huh?
Then it goes back to loyalty.
Exactly. And Lindsey Graham has demonstrated that by just doing just enough, right?
Lindsey Graham is a flaming piece of shit. Let's introduce Lou.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do. Hey, Lou, good to have you on the stream tonight. I saw him in the chat, so I shot him a link. So Lou, welcome on. We're talking about right now, obviously, Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump and endorsements. And I do agree with George. I've had problems with Trump's endorsements. I will say something, and I saw something in the chat there talking about Joe Kent in Washington. I actually a friend of mine, Jared Sessler, he ran against one of the last people left in the House. There were two of them who opposed Trump, who actually voted for his impeachment, and he was able to get Trump's endorsement. Even at that level where you've got a person who went against Trump, it's not easy to get Trump's endorsement because he wants to know if you're going to win. And he wants to see that you have the money, that your campaign is serious. That's what it's all about. Trump wants to back winners.
And that's bad. That's bad.
You know, well, it's good and bad. So that's both things. What do you think, Lou?
Oh, man. What can I say about this? I think you guys have covered it. I think the conversation goes more to, this is Trump's, last 2.5 years, right? And the conversation can go many different ways, right? What is his legacy? Who is Trump now versus who he was in 2016? I hear me and George have had countless conversations about this. Does he have bad endorsements? Sure. Does he keep bringing on Lindsey Graham? I remember he was campaigning, kept bringing him on. He brings him on. I don't remember the last time he brought him on, but he knows the crowd is booing him. He knows we don't like him. So this whole concept of him loving winners, I don't know if that's true. You know what I mean? Because this guy gets booed. We hate this guy. So I don't know. I would go more with the Brian route. I don't want to, right? I don't want to think that there's, but I don't know. It's a very complex situation. When you look at everybody who's loved Trump, right? You got Tucker, Candace, and we don't have to get into that, but it's just more like it goes back to the foundation versus what the exit is going to be for Trump's legacy as a whole. This specific sector of just politics or elections and who he's endorsing and, how he's setting things up for MAGA, moving forward for the next 20 years. That's also another debate to have. But yeah, countless. And I'm talking about very bad endorsements, but he's also the reason, why I'm back, right? If it wasn't for Trump signing Executive Order 1449, if it wasn't for Trump, basically.
Where did you go, bro?
No, I just want to say, because I'm not going to be on here for that long, and I know Neil's been on for 300 minutes, and I know he's tired, and you guys are yapping, and I want to give Trump some love. And because I don't think we do that enough nowadays. I don't know why. I feel like that's gone from, at least from my algorithm. Maybe that's my fault. But if it wasn't for Trump, I would not be back on YouTube. If it wasn't for Trump, we wouldn't have the federal government once again intervening and, basically being pressured, these big social networks. So I don't know. I've been at the Bitcoin conference defending Trump. I think Trump, I need to defend Trump on a lot of things. I don't think Neil would be back. I don't think I'd be back. I don't think George would be back. I don't think Doug in Exile would be back. There's so many different people that just would not have a lot of things that we have. I wouldn't have my house if it wasn't for Trump being back. I'm just going to be completely honest. He made it possible by signing that executive order. And so I love Trump. Trump 2028. Nothing's going to get me to hate Trump. But can he be a retard sometimes? Sure. We all, and I'm sorry for using that language, by the way. I'm on your channel, but
Don't apologize.
sure, like we all been there. He's 79 years old, and I hope that for the final 2 years and a half of his term, I hope he does figure that out on a lot of the whatever. But I don't want to yap for too long. But I love Trump, man.
Lou, do you think
I'm not going to turn my back on this guy? I just can't.
Do you think it's a possibility?
Nick, you see what we were talking about? you see precisely what we were talking about?
Yeah.
Do you think, Lou?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like, what are you guys talking about?
So the conversation is about whether we can criticize Trump, just actions, words, etc. That's the conversation, right? And I'm saying we should be allowed to without someone immediately going, "Oh, you hate Trump." And that was kind of the point I made, which is when you say something that's like a critique or anything like that, a lot of Trump supporters, and Nick hit the coffin on the nail. He said, the reason is Trump has been attacked relentlessly for literally 10 years, which is true. So a lot of the base feels like any criticism is, similar to what CNN does or MSNBC or whatever.
Can I jump? Let me just jump in real quick. I do agree with you, and we've had this conversation before. I think we should be. I've criticized Trump on his love for Israel. I don't get it. It's just unbelievable, right? Zionism. I'm not a Zionist, although my whole audience members, and I've gotten a lot of people that really just don't like me because of that. But I still choose to, support Trump, and I still choose to support a lot of things that he does. But that doesn't mean that I've criticized the most impactful. Like, I've been able to do what Tucker has done, but I'm still like not rooting for socialism. So I think a lot of people are realizing that, like, I love Tucker. Tucker's one of the main reasons why I even do this today. I love Candace. Maybe not so much anymore, but she's one of the main reasons why I even do this in the first place. But the issues with that is that I think a lot of people I think we're not giving, I guess, the MAGA base credit for how smart they are. I mean, bro, like, we see it. Okay, you can criticize Trump, but then what? Now what? It's like there's an agenda behind criticizing Trump and trying to move away from Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing it, right? Okay, you criticize Trump, he came at you, called you a traitor, whatever. But like, she has a career. She has an exit plan. Okay, I'm gonna go on CNN, I'm gonna go on The View, I'm gonna, probably start a podcast. So like, there is a discourse behind, like, are we gonna criticize Trump? You could criticize whoever you want, whenever you want, but like, you're criticizing him not because you differentiate, or you have an exit plan here. Like, we can see it. We're looking at you. We're looking at Tucker. We're looking at everybody else. We're looking at other politicians. It's not just that they're criticizing Trump. It's that they're also doing it for their career and like their plans afterward. They're thinking about what comes next, and it's in broad daylight.
By the way, Lou, just to like box you in here.
Box me in. Let's go, bro. Challenge me. Deport me.
We're not talking about the Tuckers and Candaces. We all collectively understand those people are not productive at all. Candace is talking about trap doors and aliens from portals going after Charlie.
I'm talking about the base. The way that
we're talking about.
So if I criticize, they would look at me like, "Oh, is he doing that thing?"
Yeah, exactly. That's what me and Nick.
Is he about to like? Is he about to start posting different? Like, is he about to?
Exactly. That's what me and Nick are kind of hitting at, which is we should be allowed to say, like, compartmentalize. Love everything. I don't like that one thing. Rather than just not where you say anything and it's like, oh, you're turning your back. That's sort of the nature of the conversation.
But George, it's fine for you to say I'm not supporting Trump anymore. Like, it's okay. Anyone can say that. Anyone can say that, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't support Trump on these things. Okay, but like, then you're going to, talk again. Back to Tucker. Last time I talked about. But like, what throws me off is like these people that I again grew up on. They're like doing this thing where like talking about like, is socialism okay? Like, Islam is okay now? Like, we're scared to now criticize Islam. Well, why can't you be both? Why can't you be anti-Zionist and anti-Islam? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? So I do think that there's an agenda behind people that we once respected in the space that did vote for Trump, that supported Trump, and all of a sudden it feels like they're just doing this thing and they're trying to drag a lot of people with them. And I don't know, there's a political agenda behind what they're doing. And I don't
do you think they're dragging them with them, or do you think they're exposing themselves to the alternative thought process and the alternative thought process now because they're being anti-Trump? They're like, oh, we welcome you. Like when MTG and Trump had their fracture, MTG was on The View.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like think about that. The View is so shallow in their thought process that they're like, hey, this woman that has been a staunch Trump ally for 8 years all of a sudden is like, I can't get on this Trump thing anymore. And they're like, hey, come on, we'll take you in. I
can't stand that. Yeah.
Think about the videos that we would make, right?
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me land this right here. When I look at Tucker, when I look at MTG, when I look at a lot of these Trump diehards that are mainstream, I don't put Candace in there. Candace married British royalty. Get the fuck out of here. But when I look at MTG, when I look at Tucker Carlson and these people, I look at this as totally as an op, and I think, given maybe after 2026, I think we'll see this all start to come back around.
Yeah, what do you think their aim is, Brian?
To show the left that they're fucking retards.
No, I mean the Candaces of the world.
Oh, I don't care about Candace. I don't give a crap.
Or the Tuckers, those
well,
people. What's their angle?
The Tuckers and the MTGs were so far in the Trump camp that when they fracture from him and the left is like, oh, all of a sudden we believe in everything that you've been saying for the last 8 years, even though none of that has changed. And then when it all comes back full circle and Trump's like, hey guys, look, we're back to where we started. Tucker's going to be like, hey, remember all you guys that hated Trump, but you embraced me because I was saying the bad things about Trump that you liked? Well, come on back over here. And that's the op right there, to show people how brainwashed they are by the partisanship that we see all over in politics. Trump and MTG are the two stunning examples. Thomas Massey's another one.
But Brian, here's the thing. They know what they're doing, right? How big of a story would it be for us, right? Like if, let's just say like a big time, I don't know, like Biden loyalist left the party. And, we make these videos all the time. A huge top Democrat just left the party. Yeah. Like they're giving the left the ammo that the left doesn't need. Here's why I say that. And they know that they're doing that because they want to hurt Trump. They feel morally obligated. It feels like to me that their mission now is that, because they're so passionate about this one thing, forgetting, again, I won't forget that before Executive Order 1414-9, the federal government under the Democrats was getting in between. We don't have the YouTube files, but YouTube has come out and said that they were pressured by the Biden administration to censor, right? And you remember the Twitter files, right? Like when it was Twitter. So we know what the alternative is. So what are you saying, Tucker? What are you trying to tell us? You're trying to tell us to vote blue?
So Tucker and MTG haven't really changed their position fundamentally in terms of the America First agenda. When you say like a Democrat that leaves the Democrat Party,
well, Tucker's kind of been saying he regrets telling people to vote.
Bro, this dude had a guy on talking about socialism, bro. They're promoting socialism, bro. Like it's obvious.
Yes.
What specifically?
Exactly. I have no time for any of them right now. I'll be honest.
Okay. My point is when you have a Democrat, and by the way, I do want to point out some examples. I don't live in that sphere. I don't pay attention to any of those people. I think they're all ops, and I don't give a shit about Tucker, any of those people. But I do think that Tucker and MTG are the two most stunning examples of MAGA that have since flipped, and I think they are people that need to be, kind of paid attention to. I just don't have the time to do it. But I want to go back to your point that you made about Democrats that flip over to the Republican Party, and I can't stand either party. And on that note, Fetterman is the prime example for me. And I talked about him last night on one of my shows. And people like MAGA, right? MAGA. You're like, oh, don't say anything bad about Fetterman. He's the best Democrat we got out there. He's the one guy that's like based and red-pilled and everything else. I'm like, no, he's not. He's just saying a couple things that you like, and you're like, oh, all of a sudden I like this guy. John Fetterman is the same guy that he was in 2022 when he ran against Dr. Oz. He is still, before the stroke, brain dead. He is still a full-blown commie. He just says the things that you like to hear now. Tucker, and again, I could be wrong on this, and I'm welcome to hear your examples here, but Tucker and MTG are still on the same path that they've been on this entire time.
Yeah, it's not like a trend, like a, oh my gosh, they are now liberals. It's more like, I think what Lou is saying is he's giving the left food, right? The left is hungry for, look, see, we told you about Trump. And I do feel MTG going on CNN every week now is literally feeding them like, oh, see, look, one of Trump's staunchest allies is now with us, even though she's not. Even though she's still like 99.99% right wing, it's like she's giving them that ammunition. And it's kind of funny, right? We're talking about, should we be allowed to criticize Trump while people still just allow that to happen? Those people criticize Trump, but it's not even criticism. It's like Tucker saying, MAGA's dead or the movement's dead. MTG is saying MAGA's old news. And, I think I should be allowed to say, look, I don't like that little thing he just did. I still support him. I think that's all this kind of wrapped up into.
But we kind of went down the trail of socialism. Can you give me, and I'm asking this honestly and with full like good faith, what examples of Tucker and MTG going full socialist have you heard?
Okay, so most of that is a little incendiary, but I will give you an example of what I forgot the guy's name. He had him on his podcast, and the guy said that capitalism should be nowhere near Christianity, and that Christianity is more attached to or more it should more morally identify with socialism. So that has been said. You can search that up. I am on record saying that. He's on record.
But he did. Might be a theological.
Let me land. Hold on, Brian. So when he said all of that, he didn't disagree. He didn't even fight him back on it. In fact, he did a little nod. So that let me know it's like, oh, and then Tucker's also been in this realm of like, he's hesitant to like criticize Islam. Again, you can criticize Zionism, Christian Zionism, but you should be able to criticize Islam as well, because they're both not Christianity, right? No matter how you look at it. And this is another debate for another day, but I'm just saying, this is just like, that's what I'm saying, Brian. And you can search that up. So that's why I said that. But maybe I'm being, I'll take some of that back. I'm doing too much, but that is true. He said it. It was told right in his face, and he didn't deny it. He just kind of went along.
All right, hold on. Lou, you're right, because I saw that clip. But in the interest of time, we're going to bring this thing to a close. But I do want to. What were you going to say, Rebecca? Did you have something for me? Okay. This would be a great conversation for another day. My audience knows where I'm at with Candace and all of that. I think, and going after Erica Kirk is ridiculous and everything. But there's. Crash Bandit said, Neil, I think I've supported all or still do support all of you currently. Thanks for the plug you gave me. The confidence to help Joe back in the day got me up my butt. LOL. All right. But thanks for that, Crash Bandit. I want to get kind of like just a round robin closure on this. I mean, we've covered a lot of issues tonight. We talked about Iran. We talked about the Supreme Court decision. We talked about electoral maps. We've talked about, indictments. We've talked about future indictments, the grand conspiracy. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground. So just kind of go around and hit, take a minute and just like looking ahead here now. We've got how much time before the midterms? Okay, just prognosticate a little bit. Where do you think this is all going? Where do you think the country's going? Are we getting our country back? Is this being turned over? I mean, or, where are we at on all this? So Brian, start with you, and then we'll roll to Nick, George, Lou, and it'll come back to me.
Well, I mean, dude, after last week especially, I am stoked about where we're headed right now. The indictments, the election stuff that's coming out. I think that's the most important aspect of our country right now, with the Louisiana decision, with the Texas decision, with Virginia exposing themselves. There's still more to come out with Fulton County. There's still more to come out with Maricopa County. I'm really stoked for where we're heading right now. I don't have much else to say other than, I still trust Trump. He is the same guy that he said he was in 2016. He's still doing the same things. You might not like some of the things that are going on. There's a coordinated operation right now being run against him to fracture MAGA. And guys, just hang on. We'll get through this. After 2026, all the seas are going to calm down a little bit, and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay, good thoughts, Brian. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. So I think there's like a big operation to divide MAGA. There's a lot of collateral damage in that. There's people that are getting sucked into black pill takes simply because a lot of people that they trust are perpetuating these things. And we have to remain level-headed and grounded and just be normal people. Like, not everything is black or white. If you look at the scoreboard right now, we are most certainly winning. We control the House, we control the Senate, we control the White House. We're getting Supreme Court win after Supreme Court win. We are about to quite possibly maintain the House, which is completely unprecedented. I mean, that's how often does that happen when you have typically the party in power loses the House in the next election cycle. And with everything happening with the redistricting, we might maintain the House, and the Trump MAGA agenda continues moving forward. So I don't have any reason to be dooming out about anything, because especially when you look at what's the alternative, we could have had Kamala Harris as president. None of us would be on YouTube. We'd all be broke and destitute. The border would be wide open, and all of us would be we would all be getting attacked with frivolous lawsuits right now from a weaponized DOJ. So I'm in pretty good spirits, and it's awesome to get on a live stream with all you guys, and it's been a long time, so I'm having a good time.
Cool. George?
Well, this ruling today was so spectacular because I've been talking about this on nearly every live stream in the last 6 months, this Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And the Supreme Court actually ruling the way they did is shocking. I thought Amy Coney Barrett was going to be with the Democrats on that one, but she wasn't. So I think it's genuinely transformational. If the Republicans aren't cowards, which most of them are, they would immediately redistrict in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I think Louisiana is going to do something with the special session. I think this is a game changer. When it goes to the other stuff we talked about, I want to see James Comey in jail. I will enjoy his punishment, which is the process. I don't care if he gets convicted. I don't care if the case gets dismissed. As long as he spends a little bit of money on some lawyers, I'm happy to see it. And I am a hypocrite. I'm sure if this was happening to Trump, I'd say, no, this shouldn't be happening. But with James Comey, he literally did call for the death of the sitting president. And I think he should have known better. He knew exactly what he was doing. And on the other thing, to end, I do think there needs to be like room to criticize and to put pressure on the administration to do, because this is about Trump's legacy. And we all want to see that be as perfect as possible. And pressure must be placed at all times. I don't, unfortunately, believe everything is part of the plan. I think some days it's good. Some days we need to do more talking and get whatever we need. But that's a topic for a different day. But, this has been a great show. And I'll see Brian in Florida as we
Let's go.
Yeah, we're going to jet ski, We'll do whatever it takes to, kiss his bald head.
Lou, what do you got?
I'm getting a picture of that.
So I wasn't here for the entire show, so I feel like I missed out on a great show. But Neil, thank you so much for having me and sending me the invite. Just short and quick. Like I said, I really wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be back on YouTube. I wouldn't be living the good old American dream as as I don't know, like it felt like it was over many times. And I'm not going to say that I would have been broke. I'd have probably figured something else out as far as, I don't know, figuring it out. But I just know that this is my passion. This is my love. And it was taken away from me for 9 crazy months where I'm just like scrambling. I had just gotten a new apartment.
Me, Brian, Nick are just looking at Lou like
9 months,
4 long
years, 9 months,
Brian,
9 months, 9 months. But it was at the
he was
peak.
demonetized. Yeah.
It was at the peak, and I can only imagine what you guys got. That's why I have such a high respect for George, and I feel like I got very close with George because I can't even imagine what you guys went through. And I know that I was feeling like it was the end. The worst part about it, I was able to post, but I wouldn't see anything, and I just moved my mom out the hood. I had just moved me out the hood, so I wouldn't have made those decisions if I would have known that I was going to be demonetized. But yeah, no, again, to Nick's point, I don't think a lot of us, would be here today if it wasn't for the pressure that Trump has put on these private companies, to censor individuals for their opinion. And yeah, I agree with George. You should be able to criticize anybody and everybody. And I always say that on my channel, but you should always think about what the alternative is. And, the alternative is a very ugly one. What kids?
Could you imagine if Kamala? Oh my goodness!
Sex changes for kids would have been celebrated. I mean, it's just so many bad things. I don't even want to think about it. So it's crazy how many people have jumped ship in like year number 1.5. But man, those people probably kicking themselves today because I'm sure they would love to be celebrating right now of what today looked like. And last thing I'll say, how about that Todd Blanche, huh? What a difference in like Pam Bondi. Like, that's so different. So, anyways, yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, very happy.
Thanks, Lou. In all fairness to Pam, some of these things were started under her. I mean, I'm not going to be the great Pam Bondi defender. Okay, my funniest moment on YouTube was when Pam Bondi went on Fox News and they were talking about Tim Walz, and she sent him a very strong letter, and he better do what Donald Trump says and stuff. I mean, it's just hilarious. Okay, but nonetheless, Trump had her there for a reason, and so I always look at these different things, and I in the end give a lot of leeway to Trump. I'm much less critical of him than I've been a lot of presidents in the past, because you're right, Lou. YouTube was going full commie. Every social media platform was going full commie. Voices were being silenced. Our border was being overrun. We had crime on the rise, crime that wasn't even counted in the statistics. And furthermore, if it was committed, it was being counted as white nationalist crime when they were Hispanic, Black, whatever other nationality. We were being fed so many lies in so many ways. It's hard to even keep track of it all, or to even think of COVID, think of all of what we went through. And now people jumping ship. It just blows my mind. So I am so glad we did this stream tonight. I mean, it's always one of those things that's, for some reason, it's hard to like rearrange our schedules and get it all set up. But I'm always so glad we've done it. And even though we don't see eye to eye on things, I just love it, because I love the conversation. I love the dialogue. And I know at the end, we're all trying to get to the same goal. And the audience loves it. And, our core committed audience, especially. Of course, we are down about 500 people since our peak here on the stream. I think people have gone to bed, gentlemen, which is, I think, what I'm going to do after this as well. But thanks, guys, for joining. And just thanks for making this possible. Lou, it was great to have you on as a late addition. So, folks, y'all have a good night's sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.